Hi and welcome to Business Today.
Show number 22.
Last week, Andrew talked about who you associate with. Helia talked about what you say to yourself, and Annemaria was not enough minutes in the day. This week we have John Hughes talking passion, Andrew Ford on marketing, Helia, change your luck, and Annemaria, self-regulation. Hi and welcome to Business Today. Geez, we've been having some fun in the studio and we've got some very special guests, none other than Mr. John Hughes, for those in Perth joining us. 50 years of business success. That is coming up right after we finish our bit of a talk. How are you, Gerard?
Always good, and always looking forward to these sessions just to give information that people can use this in their business and make a difference.
One thing I've been discovering is how many people, especially in the COVID, are actually reconnecting with themselves, finding their own passion, and then moving forward with that and actually starting to do something that they really wanted to do.
Well, there was an article this morning on the news where they say that people are actually looking at new things and really qualifying in new things because this is an ideal opportunity to do this.
Absolutely. Now, it's interesting because first up is Mr. John Hughes. Now, John is actually talking about passion this week, and he's talking about exactly that. Find your passion. You might have to try 2 or 3 things to find it, but when you find it, lock onto that, and he's saying, do that.
We had a conversation with a few friends a few months ago, and we said, how many people are in what they love to do every day? Most of us got out of school, you got your degree, then you find a job because, that's the first thing you need to get. You get money. Yeah. And then you get stuck in that position and you never do what you really love to do.
Absolutely. Here he is, John Hughes, talking passion. So here we are with Mr. John Hughes, 50 years of business success, and we're going to pick your brains. John, one of the things that strikes people is your passion and your continuing growth of passion in the car business. Where does it come from and why does it keep growing?
Well, that's an interesting question because I could have been in my younger days, except for timing and a few other issues. I could have been a lawyer, I could have been a school teacher, or I could have been an accountant. Now, would I have had the same passion if I'd have had any of those occupations as I have now in the car business? Probably not. I think the first thing is, and it doesn't come from my father, he was a mechanic, but I haven't got oil in my veins. In fact, I know nothing much about cars at all, to be frank with you. It's the fact that it is something, the most important thing is I have my own business. If I were a PAYE, if I were working for somebody else, I'd be passionate, sure, but I don't know that I'd have the same degree of passion as you do when you've got yourself on the line every day. You've got your commitments, you've got your borrowings, you've got responsibilities to the staff. So every morning when you get to work, whatever time it is, you're starting over again, and that drives you. But look, somebody asked me some time back, John, why do you continue to come to work every day? And this is not work, incidentally. I haven't got a shovel digging trenches. I'm not lifting up heavy weights on shelves. This is not work. But why do I do it? It's because I'm very good at what I do. It's a certain degree of ego involved. I mean, if you have an ego, as long as it's a positive ego and you can justify it. And the answer to the question I gave the people that asked me that was, and this is true, I like to put a smile on the face of my customers. That's my passion.
Wow. For someone trying to get into business, what's your recommendation for finding your passion? You got into cars, but is there a formula for finding the passion that will keep you burning for 50 years?
I'm not aware that there's any particular formula. What you need to do if you want to be passionate about, you try 2 or 3 different occupations until you find one that hits the spot. Now, you don't chop and change every 6 months or every 12 months, but there's nothing wrong with trying 2 or 3 different occupations or different areas or industries until you find one that clicks. One would hope that you don't have to go on for too long until you find that passion.
Well, there was John Hughes, and for those in Perth know him really, really well. Well, he's been in business for 50 years, more passionate now than he's ever been. He's obviously in what he loves doing.
But also, if you look at his business, there's always innovation going on.
Yeah.
If you're in the same business, in the same building, doing what you do for 50 years, you'll get bored. But you have to innovate and get stuff new. There's always something new with John.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things he's good at is marketing, and another person who's really good at that is one of our regular guests, and that is Andrew Ford from Ford & Doonan and Excess Fitness. He's actually got a couple of businesses now, and he applies the same marketing principles in both of them. And again, Andrew shows his passion, not just for his business, but he shows his passion for the marketing as well, Gerard.
Exactly. And what I would suggest is listen to him, and then again, what can you change, improve, create, remove to make your business plan or your marketing strategy better?
Now you've got a thing for that, and I know you were going to cut. We are live, but what's your acronym for that?
It's SCISSOR.
SCISSOR.
Yeah.
Just say it again.
Change, improve, create, remove.
Absolutely fantastic. Here he is, Mr. Andrew Ford. Well, I'm back here with Andrew Ford. Yeah, we're just having a bit of a joke. We're actually talking a bit about marketing and how much marketing we actually see. Andrew, your marketing has been very, very successful, and I suppose there's a lot of noise out there, but you've been able to cut through it with Ford & Doonan, Excess Fitness. You know, you've cut through the noise, and I'm just wondering, what's your philosophy behind your style of marketing?
Yeah, it's very consistent. We try to be very consistent the way we represent the brand. And with Ford & Doonan, in 35 years, we've never advertised price. So we never put it at any sort of advertisement, TV, radio, press, whatever, where we say X system for XYZ dollars.
So the old adage, what was the marketing lesson these teach you? Product placement, price, or the P's? And,
Yeah.
And I never went with price either. I've always gone, why?
Because to me, we always thought, okay, we knew we weren't the cheapest. That was never a foundation we wanted to build the company on. So we knew if we had prices in our advertisements that people could go, if they already had a quote, for example, oh, look, they're more expensive, I only would bother ringing them. Where we wanted to create the desire to ring us by our other attributes of quality and the way we presented ourselves. So then we weren't already behind the eight ball before we even got to quote on the air conditioning job.
I like you said that your marketing, and I've noticed that with Excess Fitness as well, that you've got, the brand is about the quality and the intrigue of almost, oh, what am I going to get when I go there? So you're kind of getting that almost, I don't want to say curiosity factor, but people are going, these guys are going to be worth having a look at.
Absolutely, and right through the COVID shutdown at Excess Fitness, we never stopped the advertising on social media.
I noticed that.
So we were everywhere, knowing that we were going to open one day. It was never going to be forever. And whilst our competitors may have wanted to save the money, we kept spending it, knowing that when we opened, we'd be in a better position. Our brand would be front of mind to more people because we hadn't shut down the marketing. And then tried to urgently start it. In fact, we were planning our reopening like 6 weeks before we could actually, we hadn't actually even heard a firm date, but we knew it was imminent. So we started that particular campaign to build awareness. And when I acquired the gym, and I've touched on this before about being famous for something, when I acquired the gym in March last year, we built 3 pillars or foundations that we pride ourselves on, being the cleanest gym, the results gym, and the friendliest gym. Now everyone says results gym, and that's very intangible because it comes down to the individual, but what we can guarantee is we're going to be the cleanest gym and the friendliest gym. And once you've set something famous, it makes your marketing a lot easier, because then that's your foundation that you can spin your marketing around too. Like, we're the friendliest gym, and it becomes part of the culture of the staff as well. I'm always preaching it, that I know people go to a gym and stay at a particular gym if they feel like they're part of the community there. And people know their name. Everyone likes to feel important and feel wanted.
When you said that, it reminded me, was it Walt Disney? And he just said something like, no chip paint, all the rides work, and it's clean. And he built a whole empire just on 3 foundations. It was something like that.
It was something like that, yeah. And I think if you've got those foundations, it's a lot easier to formulate, like we said a moment ago, your marketing plan, but also it gives you something that everyone strives for. And like if it's not as clean, if I come into the workout at night and it's not as clean as what I expected, we've got a reason why I can say this isn't clean enough because this is one of our pillars. So it just sets the parameters for a minimum standard at the same time.
So by having those, looking at it from a broader perspective of marketing, your marketing now isn't just to customers, but you're marketing actually to your staff and going, hey, you want to be part of this group? This is what we stand for. If you want to be part of that, then come along.
Absolutely.
And I suppose, does that empower them to make decisions when they see something? They go, well, that's not to our standard. I'll fix that. Or raise the question.
Absolutely, they should. If they can just do something about there and then, they're empowered to do that, and you'd hope they want to do that because they know that's one of the key pillars that we stand by.
Wow.
So if we just open the gym without any trying to be famous for something, we're just another gym, and what are you going to compete on? Price? You know, that's a mug's game. So yeah, so if you just come up with whatever's relevant to your business that you think resonates with your customers, create your famous thing for that.
Yeah.
Every business is going to be different.
So if you want to do successful marketing, work out what you want to be famous for first.
Absolutely. Stand
Andrew,
out from the
forward.
crowd.
Yeah, well, you guys do stand out. Andrew, thanks very much once
Thanks,
again.
Michael.
Well, two great guests starting off the show, John Hughes and Andrew Ford. And I think both of them, in one shape or another, use your scissor little acronym.
And the thing for me is with scissor as well, it's that small little things that you change. It's not a big thing. It's that one little thing that you listen to today and see, maybe I can implement it in my business. You do, and you will see the results.
Yeah, and I think it really does come down to an attitude. And this next segment I really love because we ask them the old 60-second question and you get it right in the core of people. You get up their passion straight away, but you get the attitude and what these successful people are actually doing so you can copy them. Gerard, great question this week. What was it?
So we asked them, what is your favorite business book that you've read and why?
It was Dale Carnegie. I did a Dale Carnegie course. The main thing I got from that was standing up on your feet and speak. I was amazed, probably not amazed, but I was very surprised to know that in Australia, probably worldwide, I don't know, the biggest fear of most people, 25%, was the fear of public speaking. You know, and it's like you talk to one person, and you may as well talk to 100 or 200 or 300. I say to people when they're looking for advice about talking, you're not talking to 300 people. You're talking to one person 300 times. You know, it's just one entity.
Definitely a podcast person, not a book person. I've been listening for many years to a show out of the US, the Jordan Harbinger Show. Very different guests he has on, very interesting. Not all about business, more about life, but so much of life applies to business. I get a lot from it.
Wow, there are so many to choose from, so many. I mean, if I say anything, please don't think that the rest are not as important, but that book is The Power of Habit, which we're going to talk about it soon.
Well, that was really interesting. I really love that question. What I found interesting, Gerard, was like John, yes, he read a book, but then he actually went and did the course with the Dale Carnegie so he could learn public speaking of it. And Andrew Ford isn't really into books. He's into podcasts, which are basically audio books.
But exactly. If you're not liking something that we say here, but maybe you can take that idea and change it a bit around so it works for you. So like for Andrew, books don't work for me, but podcast does. So what can you take from today and change it a little bit that it works for you?
And I think just expanding on that, Andrew was talking about marketing, and I think that teaches us a lesson, doesn't it? Our customers, and you also remind me of this, just because I like something in a certain way doesn't mean everybody does. Yeah. And I think in business, because it's ours and you are the business, we tend to do it the way we like. But it doesn't say don't do it that way, but supply the information that way, but then have to think a little bit outside the box and restructure it for other people so they enjoy getting that information in the way that they like getting it.
But again, you know, I really enjoy Simon Sinek and his why, and I do believe in my why and what I do. But you took it a step further, you know, and say, what is your customer's why?
Yes.
And if you take all of this stuff that we discussed today and you take your customer's why, you will have a recipe for success.
Yeah, passion, marketing, and here's a little segue, a bit rough, but it's about changing your luck. Miss Helia Singh.
Well,
we're back with Helia. How are you, Helia?
Great, thank you, Michael.
Well, listen to Wealth Creation TV, and I suppose some people think they're born lucky because they're born into rich families, and some of us who are not, we say, well, we're the unlucky ones. And your last video was on about the luck factor with Richard Wiseman, I think the book was.
That's right.
But you gave some strategies towards the end. Just before you gave the strategies, though, you gave a quote, and now please forgive me, but it was something like, no one is luckier than the one who believes in luck.
That's right, yes. This is a German proverb. And so then when I look back and reflected the first time I read this, I said, wow, this is exactly what I've been feeling, because I kept telling myself I'm not lucky. And that's why obviously I was just focusing on an unlucky event in my life and highlighting that. But when I read this, I said that, okay, luck is only happens between these 2 ears. And if I believe in luck, I've been creating that luck for myself.
And you gave 6, so if you haven't watched the video, go on and watch the video on Wealth TV, the Helia's YouTube channel, where you do this on the Richard Wiseman's book. But you give a quote from a person that I really look up to, and that's Oprah Winfrey. And if I'm remembering this correctly, she said, it's not, you don't become what you want to be, you manifest
What you believe.
What you believe.
That's
Wow.
right, yes. It's amazing things that of course, people, and because of this law of attraction, people used to think that, okay, if I keep saying what I want, I'm going to create that in my life. Yes, it's beautiful, it's great. So, and of course, we have to keep telling ourselves, those positive things to create something. But the actual action is to, if we believe we are not like that, so how can we manifest it? How can we create that?
Yeah, and you went on to talk about using your weaknesses as your strength. And I was smiling when I was watching the video because you talked about your accent. And I'm thinking, I'm sure that's what they said to Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think they said, get a better name that we can pronounce and get a different accent.
Yes.
And so when you talked about your accents being the weakness, I just couldn't help but start laughing during the video.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. I mean, when you look at the brain of a person who has or believe in their some weaknesses, the way that in their own brain that they're telling themselves or justifying things, it's just so true to themselves. So that's why I truly believe luck and unlucky matter is a matter of perception of what we see others. Someone else may look at me or watching this video and say, well, she's so lucky, or overnight success, which obviously we both know that there is no such a thing as overnight success. But I don't know that why I've been so open and wanted to share my vulnerability with my audiences, just to know that we all go through this. It's not that suddenly we drop it and that's it, life is rosy and everything happens good. It's a process. The best thing is you just stick with it if this is what you really want, and not to give up. And yes, and we all take our own time. So if maybe somebody within a week or 2 weeks or 1 month to get to that level, somebody may take 5 years. So don't compare your progress with someone else.
So if I'm listening to you correctly, someone who feels like they may have gone through their life at the moment and been unlucky, and I'm sure there's people that reflect on that. I know I've gone through times and had a sad moment.
Yes.
Do you honestly now believe that anyone can change their luck?
Yes, truly, 100% down my heart. I truly believe everybody can change their luck by the way that they believe in it. So that's why if we look at whatever happened in our life, for example, let's say this, if you are in a car accident, if somebody's in a car accident, you are going for an interview of, that you always were wishing to go to that company for interview, and on the way, you have an accident. So how do you see that? You've got a choice. You either sit there to say, you see, I say that I'm always unlucky, and these things happens to me. But imagine this, you are still alive. You didn't die in that accident. So you're lucky. Look at the positive side of any event. And I'm sure something better will come along.
Well, there she was, Helia. And we've been covering this over the last few weeks with Helia about luck and attitudes to luck. And I really enjoyed listening to her about how you change your luck. And I think if it combining what we've heard from John and Andrew, and then how people have been asking questions. And look, if you've missed any of our shows, go onto our YouTube channel or go into Worthington Stoop. They're all there, as you can go on Business TV in the YouTube channel and watch them all. And you're going to find they're just absolutely packed with information that will help you change your luck.
But I mean, we have coaches as well, and some of our coaches, they got to think that it's one person, one opportunity, one deal. If you don't go out and meet people, your luck will not change. You need to make your luck.
You certainly do. If it's to be, it's up to me. That's what I was always taught. And I think that's one of the things. And Annemaria from South Africa joins us again. I mean, this is South Africa, and she's making the effort to jump on and make these segments for us and share the information. And she's talking about, I think, about taking your own self-control this week.
And again, there's so much information. See what you can take to change in your business.
I would like to talk to you about a buzzword nowadays, which is emotional regulation, or also self-regulation. This is one of the pillars of a specific leadership model, which is about self-awareness, then self-regulation, the awareness of others, and the regulation of others' emotions. Way beyond leadership, though, I think it is crucial that we have the ability to be firstly aware of our emotions, and secondly, that we are able to regulate our emotions. Because can you imagine what it would be like if we had to just act on and say absolutely everything that we feel that we want to say, everything that we think? If you're a CEO or a business owner or a partner, needless to say, I don't think that would be very conducive to a good relationship and to good outcomes. I truly don't think so. So I want to give you a little bit of background with regards to why this is important. We have a tendency to interpret or to assess or to appraise everything that we come across. And this is one of the organizing principles of the brain. Is it good or is it bad? Do I protect myself against this, or is it going to give me pleasure? Is it okay? Can I go for it? So we interpret as good or as bad. We literally categorize stuff all the time and subconsciously. It's not always conscious. And often it's more negative than what it is positive. And it tends to be more negative when it's an environment that's not really trusting, or when it's an environment that is quite competitive. Because in those environments, we're going to feel that we want to protect ourselves. So we're going to be on our guard and first just suss it out and see where we are. I want to give you an example, a very real example of one of my coachees. She just went into a new leadership role, and a lot of people asked her so many questions. Her interpretation of that was, why don't you trust me? Another interpretation of hers was, the CEO walked in and didn't greet her. And her interpretation was, what have I done wrong? So you can see there that because she was guarded and trying to protect herself, this is what she observed in the environment. And she felt that she had to protect herself, and she interpreted a lot of the stuff in a more negative way than in a positive way. There's a very famous study that Oshner has done, a very famous psychologist, where it says that 6 months later, a paraplegic is just as happy as someone that won the lottery. And I think this is quite important for us to realize. It's been proven, so we can't really argue with that. And what it proves is that we have a choice. We have a choice in how we interpret what happens to us, in how we interpret what we see or what we hear or our environment. Initially, our interpretation might be more negative, but what is important to realize is that we do have a choice. We have a choice in reinterpreting, in reassessing the situation. And one of the tools that I want to share with you is repositioning, which is probably one of the hardest things to do because it means that I have to really make the effort to try and understand what that person's point of view is. And in coaching, there's this beautiful saying, in understanding, I'm standing under your reality, which doesn't mean that I agree with you necessarily. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to go with your solution. But what it does mean is that I'm trying to understand your point of view. If I always had to listen, but already ready with my answer, I'm never going to be open to what you have to say. And that is the danger, and it might lead to conflict. And it very often leads to conflict, is when you go in very positional. And I find the saying, I hear what you say, but very positional. Because what it actually says, I'm listening to you, but I'm not really open to what you have to say because I already have a but. So in this tool of repositioning, I want to stress that it is so important that we understand that we do interpret. That's our knee-jerk reaction. And that's okay. We do interpret. But what is more important, that we keep quiet until we've reassessed. And if we then still feel the same way, it's okay. But very often with your reappraisal, you will get other information because you're more open to what's going on. And definitely the result of that conversation will be much better and much more positive.
Wow, John, what a show. We've almost come to the end of show number 22.
There was so much information in today's show. There must definitely be something that you can take and change immediately in your business.
Absolutely. John Hughes is going to be joining us as one of our regulars, along with Andrew Ford, Helia Singh and Annemaria. And we've got some other surprise special guests coming up as well in the very near future, as we tend to change our luck.
Well, we have to change how we do it as well.
Yeah.
We can't just keep on having the same recipe, baking the same cake.
No. People like variety, they like change. We're going out with the end of a show with another one of our regulars, Miss Colleen Yates from Regional Development Australia, Perth. And it's part 2 of the Perth Hills, where she goes to Lake Leisure-Nautia. And I think we're going to discover some of the eagles that are up there this week, Gerard.
But it's also, the main thing is about supporting local. Go and support your local businesses. Ideally make a point to go and support local.
Absolutely. We support local and we really appreciate you supporting us. Thank you to the thousands of people who are now watching the show. It is really, really appreciated. So here she is, Miss Colleen Yates in the Perth Hills, Lake Leisure-Nautia. And until next week, it is a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And so you're seeing a lot of families come up here.
Yes.
It looks really quiet now, but so what is it like in the summer months?
In the summer months, it's bustling. I think some of the long weekend holidays that are coming up over summer, particularly Christmas and New Year's, there are campsites which you can book through the Shire of Mundaring and spend many nights camping up here as well. So it's alive with people. Sound travels very quickly across the water, so if we were sitting here on a weekend day or on a holiday, the whole beach is usually full of people, kids playing in the water. You can just hear everyone having a good time, and that's fantastic to see. PhD focusing on one of Australia's 3 eagle species, so wedge-tailed eagles. They're a true eagle, so not a wedge-tailed seagull like bald eagles and white-bellied seagulls. They're a different class of eagle, or in a different group. Wedgetails are very well known to most Australians that travel the outback and see them feeding on dead kangaroos on the side of the road, and it's kind of an iconic scene, you know, the shimmering heat haze with this vulture-like bird tucking
They're
into it.
quite big, aren't they?
They stand almost a metre tall, so they're huge.
Yeah.
The more blokes you speak to down the pub that have had a few beers, the bigger taller they get. and it's funny because the females are actually the bigger of the two sexes, like most birds of prey. But you know, I've seen blokes down the pub, and I've seen them. One of the big males that was 1.8 metres tall, and I thought, crikey, it must be a few stacked on each other. But if you're looking for eagles, it's very important that you don't spend too much time looking up, but you spend a lot of time focusing in on the sounds. And as soon as an eagle appears, the ravens up here, or Warradong in the Noongar language, the crows, they are sort of the #1 sentry for the eagles. So if you are walking through the bush and it's all quiet, there's probably not one around, but then you hear the ravens doing this very high-pitched call. It's basically in bird language saying there's an eagle in the sky, look up. And then that follows to the rest of the bird community, that, you know, the parrots will start squawking, the cockatoos will all take to the air, and there's this very noticeable oral response from the forest.
Is it true, or is it a wives' tale, that they'll knock birds out of the sky?
Sure, no, they're absolutely true. So peregrine falcons are amazing. They're one of the fastest they're the fastest animal on the planet. They can dive at hundreds of kilometres an hour, and they tend to hang up on the breeze way up watching their prey. And for example, here, if there's a flock of ducks on the lake, they might not try and get one while they're on the water, but if they take off to the sky to move to another wetland, the falcons can just duck out of the sky, no pun intended, and they go in a dive with their feet back, and then they bring their feet forward and just give this bird a big punch, and the speed pretty much kills them on impact.
Wow.
So they're very well adapted for speed.
So it's just not the magpies and the willy wagtails.
No.
It's the falcons.
That's right. Australia has a suite of aggressive birds, and people tend to worry about the ones that interact with them. But I think, well, there are researchers that have worked on peregrines, and they are unusual for raptors. Raptors don't tend to defend their nest sites from people, but you know, if you're hanging off a cliff ledge on a rope to go and, you know, harass this nest and take the information, they can come in, and some researchers have to wear masks or vests.
So kind of hang at your own risk.
Yeah, hang at your own risk, absolutely, yeah.
So are there any tours to look at birds?
Yes, there's a range of tours. I mean, I take tours just as a freelance tour guide, really. But the Mundaring Shire facilitates a lot of these as well. So we actually ran one on the weekend. And it was a combination. It was a cultural and environmental tour. So we had a Noongar elder up here, and me as the wildlife sort of person, and take people through a walk in the forest and focusing on different parts, from flowers and bush tucker plants in the understory right to, you know, eagles and stuff up in the sky.
So if anyone in Perth wanted to come up and visit, where should they go to find out more information?
If you want to find more information about places like Lake Leschenaultia, there's the Mundaring Visitors Centre. They have a Facebook page, and they're linked to the Mundaring Shire's website as well. Lake Leschenaultia itself has social media pages, so there's Instagram and Facebook. They post events that are on, and the Mundaring Shire runs a whole heap of free events as well for the community. So yeah, just jump onto those links. You can always, if you're not into the internet as well, you can call the Mundaring Visitor Centre. I think they have an 8-digit phone number now, which people tend to forget about. And yeah, there's a whole world out there to see.
Well, thank you so much, Simon, for this really incredible talk and sharing with us about Lake Leschenaultia and telling us about the beautiful nature that exists here in Mundaring.
No worries, Colleen. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you really enjoyed our first tour into the Perth Hills. There's so much more to come.